No one in the small, sleepy town of Oakhaven could say when the mailbox first appeared. It stood at the edge of the forgotten path that led into Blackwood Forest, a place children were told to avoid after dusk. The mailbox was not like the others in town. It was made of a dark, almost black metal that seemed to drink the sunlight, and it was covered in swirling patterns that made your eyes feel dizzy if you stared too long. It had no number, no name, just a slot for letters that was thin as a whisper. It was simply there, one Tuesday morning, as if it had grown from the earth overnight, a silent iron sentinel guarding the woods. Old Man Hemlock, who had lived on the lane for 80 years and knew every crack in the pavement, swore it was new. He would sit on his porch, rocking in his chair, his gaze fixed on the strange object. He insisted that the spot where it now stood had been empty just the day before, a patch of unremarkable grass he had mowed 1,000 times. The children, however, felt a different kind of curiosity. They would dare each other to get close, to touch its cold surface. But none of them ever did. There was an invisible line around it, a feeling like a cold breath on your neck that warned you to keep your distance from the peculiar new addition to their world. The adults tried to rationalize its existence. Perhaps the town council had placed it there, a new collection point for some future housing development that nobody had heard about. They made phone calls, sent inquiries, and knocked on the doors of Town Hall, seeking an explanation for the sudden appearance of the strange metal box. But the council knew nothing. The postmaster scratched his head and declared it wasn't official postal property. It belonged to no one, and it had come from nowhere. It was an anomaly, a question mark forged from dark metal, standing stubbornly at the edge of their very normal, very predictable lives. And so the mailbox became a part of the town's quiet landscape, an accepted oddity. People learned to walk around it, to avert their eyes as they passed. It was easier to ignore it than to question it. But even when they weren't looking, they could feel its presence. It was a cold spot in the warm summer air, a shadow that lingered even when the sun was high in the sky. The mailbox stood silently, waiting. It held a secret, and the entire town of Oakhaven could feel the weight of that unspoken, unknown secret pressing down on the quiet streets and rustling through the leaves of the nearby trees. The strangeness of the mailbox did not end with its sudden appearance. Every morning, just as the first hints of dawn painted the sky in shades of grey and pale rose, a single letter would appear inside. It wasn't delivered in the usual way, with the familiar rumble of the mail truck and the friendly wave of the postman. This letter simply materialized. One moment the box was empty, a hollow space of dark metal, and the next, a crisp white envelope lay inside, waiting patiently to be discovered. The envelopes were always the same, thick, heavy paper that felt like old linen, sealed with a drop of silver wax that bore no crest or initial. The mystery deepened when someone, spurred by a moment of bravery or perhaps foolishness, first peered through the collection slot. The letters were not addressed to anyone in Oakhaven. The names written on the front, in elegant looping script, were entirely foreign. Names like Ethelred of the Glass Spire, or Lyra, Keeper of Whispers, or the Clockmaker at the End of Time. They were names that sounded like they belonged in dusty storybooks, not in the mundane world of Oakhaven. The town had no glass spires, no official Keepers of Whispers, and certainly no clockmakers who resided at the End of Time itself. Word of the bizarre addresses spread through the town like a slow-moving fog. The residents would gather in small, hushed groups at the local diner, speculating over cups of cooling coffee. Who were these people? Where did they live? Some believed it was a prank, a very elaborate and persistent joke played by some unseen trickster with a flair for the dramatic. Others, the more imaginative souls, whispered that the letters were not for people in their town, or even in their world. They suggested the mailbox was a gateway, a portal to somewhere else, and these letters were meant for destinations far beyond their comprehension. The letters became a local legend, a piece of living folklore. Children would invent stories about the recipients, painting pictures of fantastical realms and the strange individuals who inhabited them. Ethelred became a king in a castle of crystal, and Lyra was a sorceress who could hear secrets on the wind. The letters, pristine and unopened, fed the town's imagination, creating a world that existed just beyond their own. They were a tangible link to the impossible, a daily reminder that the world was larger and far more mysterious than the quiet, predictable streets of Oakhaven suggested. If the mailbox was a mystery, then its mailman was a ghost, a legend whispered on stormy nights when the wind howled like a lonely creature. No one had ever seen him, not with their own eyes. But there were stories, fragments of sightings pieced together from fleeting moments and strange occurrences. The tale told by the town's elders and passed down to the wide-eyed children was that the letters were not brought by any ordinary man. They were delivered by an entity known only as the interdimensional mailman, a figure who walked the unseen paths between worlds, his sole purpose to deliver mail that had no earthly destination. They said he never touched the ground, but glided an inch above it, his feet clad in boots made of woven moonlight and shadow. His coat was said to be the colour of a twilight sky, dotted with faint shimmering stars that were not of any known constellation. He didn't use a truck or a cart, but carried a satchel that was bigger on the inside than the outside, holding an infinite number of letters for an infinite number of impossible places. He was a creature of the in-between, visible only at the corner of your eye, a fleeting shape that vanished the moment you turned to look directly at it. Some people claimed to have caught glimpses of him. A late-night driver swore he saw a tall, slender figure with a long coat moving silently along the forest edge, his form blurry and indistinct, like a heat haze on a cold night. A child, woken by a bad dream, said she looked out her window and saw a man made of starlight place a letter in the box before dissolving into the morning mist. These stories were dismissed by the skeptical as tricks of the light or overactive imaginations, but for those who believed, they were proof of something magical and slightly terrifying at work in their town. The lore of the mailman added a layer of profound awe and fear to the mailbox. It was one thing for a strange object to appear, but it was another entirely for it to be serviced by a being from another reality. He was the reason the letters appeared, the silent and invisible hand that connected Oakhaven to the unknown. His existence implied that the town was not just a quiet, isolated place, but a stop on a cosmic route, a tiny, insignificant station on a railway that stretched between dimensions. The interdimensional mailman was the keeper of the mystery, and his unseen presence was felt more deeply than any physical form. There was an unspoken universal rule in Oakhaven concerning the letters: You must never, under any circumstances, open one. This was not a law written in any book, but a deep, instinctual understanding that settled in the hearts of everyone who lived there. The warning was passed down from parent to child in hushed, serious tones. To open a letter not addressed to you was rude, but to open one of these letters felt like a far greater transgression. It felt like tampering with the very fabric of reality, like inviting something unknown and potentially dangerous into their world. What secrets did they hold? What words were written for the eyes of a clockmaker at the end of time? This fear was rooted in the unknown. The letters felt powerful, humming with a latent energy that was both alluring and frightening. People imagined what might happen if one were opened. Some believed the words inside would be incomprehensible, a language of pure magic that could drive a person mad. Others thought that opening a letter would be like opening a door, and whatever was on the other side would be free to step through. Perhaps a terrible beast, or a sorrow so profound it could never be contained, or a truth so vast it would shatter a person's mind. The possibilities were endless, and all of them were terrifying. And so the letters remained untouched. Each day, the previous day's letter would vanish, as mysteriously as it had arrived, replaced by a new one. It was as if the interdimensional mailman collected the undeliverable mail on his return journey, taking the unopened secrets back to wherever they came from. The town became the collective guardian of this ritual. They watched over the mailbox, ensuring no curious outsider or reckless teenager would dare to break the sacred rule. The integrity of the seal on each envelope became a matter of communal importance, a small act of preservation against the vast, encroaching unknown. The mailbox stands there still, on this very day, at the edge of Blackwood Forest. It remains unexplained, a permanent fixture of mystery in a world that craves answers. It continues its silent daily ritual, receiving and dispatching its letters to nowhere. The residents of Oakhaven have learned to live with the question it poses, to find a strange comfort in its presence. The mailbox is a reminder that not everything needs to be understood. Some secrets are meant to be kept, some letters are meant to remain unread, and some mysteries are more beautiful when they are left to be just that, a mystery.